G'day and welcome back to another episode at Larrikin, Japan. Today I want to have a bit of a talk about why a lot of foreigners can't hack working for Japanese companies. Now it all goes back to work culture. So first off, we'll go through a bit on how the Japanese work, and then you'll pick up a lot why foreigners don't really cotton on to it. So work culture in Japan is pretty strict, actually. So like you have a lot of sort of jobs that are minimum wage, like working in a convenience store or a supermarket or a factory, these sort of jobs. Even though the people are just getting the minimum wage, they work to 100% of the best they can do. You know, they don't mess around, they work hard, they run around and do jobs. If they run out of work, they'll go looking for something else to do. They don't just stand around chatting with their mates and just sort of, you know, taking it easy. You know, they're really, really work conscious. And like I did a video a few weeks ago on a supermarket. I walked around a supermarket and people were commenting on how clean it was. You know, at supermarkets and shops and things, they have a lot will have cleaners. That's their job. They go around and just make sure it's clean. If there's any marks on the floor, they'll get rid of the mark and mop the floors, keep them spotless. The toilets, they'll go into the toilets every hour or every 2 hours and tidy up the toilets, make sure they're all clean and everything. There's usually a card on the wall of the toilet that they have to sign and write what time they did the toilet. Every hour or every 2 hours, the toilets have got to be done, and at the end of the day, they check it. I work at a juku, and at the end of the night, they have a cleaning checklist, and the teachers have to go through room by room and check it, make sure all the desks are all neat and tidy, and the air conditioners are turned off and windows are locked and lights are off and everything. You know, they have a checklist they have to do every day. You know, so people are really conscious about their jobs. And like if you go into a restaurant or a shop, you sort of, when you walk in, people will say welcome. You know, like if you walk into a restaurant, and someone will say, "Irashaimase," and next minute you've got, you know, everyone in the restaurant, all the staff, "Irashaimase," and then when you leave, you know, they'll say thank you. You know, one person, maybe the person at the cash register will say, you know, "Arigatou gozaimashita," and then everyone else will, "Arigatou gozaimashita." You know, they're very polite and that sort of thing. If you go into a supermarket and you can't find something, you've only got to find someone and ask them where it is. They'll take you and find it for you and make sure you're okay. If you don't know how something works, they'll explain things to you. You know, it's really, it's really easy to do things like that. And everyone's very polite. Like in Japan, they don't have strikes. There's never a strike. Like a few weeks ago in Australia, Woolworths, at the distributing warehouse, they went on strike. In Victoria and Melbourne, all the Woolworths stores had nothing on the shelves, very little stuff on the shelves. It was all sold out and they couldn't get in. They had the warehouses blockaded, so they couldn't get in and that. And then a little while ago, Qantas had a strike for a day or two. Something, you know, like the unions here are usually run in the company. So Toyota will have its own union and it's run in the company in that. So they're not so militant like in other countries. So I've never known them to have a strike here. And so it's okay, you know, and, you know, a lot of people here, they'll just have one job for their whole life. You know, they might start at Toyota or something. They'll work for Toyota till they retire. And it's very common for people just to have one job. You know, if, let's say you're an employer and you had a job and you were going you were looking for a new person, and let's say you had two people coming for the interview. One person had had maybe 10 jobs in 15 years, and the other person had had one job in 15 years. And the guy who had had 10 jobs was better qualified for the job. They would employ the fella who had had one job in 15 years because he's more stable. He's liable to stay there for longer. They don't have to retrain someone in the next year or two, because it's just a waste of time and waste of money retraining people. So they work like that. And they don't complain. If you went for a job and they said this, and then when you started work it was a little bit different, oh, well, that's fair enough. You just accept it. You don't worry about it. That's just part and parcel of it. And like overtime, sometimes they have to do a lot of overtime. Like my youngest son, he works at Lexus, and we're coming up to the New Year break where we have a week off, and they're really busy. For the last 3 weeks or so, he's been finishing work 10 o'clock every night. So he's doing, 12, 13-hour days. And, he's sort of doing probably 60 hours a week. And sometime the other week he had to work Saturday too, so he only had Sunday off. But it's just you have to do it. You can't say to the boss, I don't want to work overtime tonight, I'm going out or something. No, it doesn't happen. You just do it. If you've got to work overtime, you have to work overtime. And that's just how it is. So people sort of accept it. And people really take their job very serious. The other week, I was parked at a set of traffic lights waiting for the lights to change, and it was outside a bakery. And there was a lady cleaning the car park, and she was explaining to a new employee how to clean the car park. The new employee, she was taking notes, so she knew what to do. And I thought it was a bit funny. Why would you take notes on cleaning the car park? It's not that difficult, you just wander around and that. But that's what they do. They take their jobs very serious. So, she'd have notes all on what to do inside and everything. So if she doesn't know what to do, she can open up a notebook, check through, okay, this is how you do it. She doesn't have to ask anybody on what to do. So you're not annoying other people and asking them how to do the job, which you've been told once. So they just get told once, they write it in their notebook, and that's it. That's how it works. And same thing, I was watching at a Suzuki car dealer. There was a mechanic. He'd probably done some work on the car. He opened the door so the person could get in, closed the door, then ran out to the street to make sure that the street was clear so they could pull out on the street. He bowed when they were coming out, then he bowed again as they were going up the road. Then he ran back into the dealer to go do his next job. He didn't just stroll along and take his time. He was flat out running, So they just do this. There was talk one time about having tipping in Japan, but that will never happen. People just do their job and they're happy to do it. They don't need, extra thing for doing what they think is right. Everyone works the best to their ability. They don't want to let people down. So it's very different. So I think the main way the Japanese have come up with this is from the school system. They're taught from when they start school to work in groups and how hierarchy works. And you don't question it, you just do it. If they have club activities. So if you're in first year and then the third years tell you to do something, you just do it. You don't ask questions, you just do it. That's the hierarchy. And this is how it's sort of taught to them. So it's sort of embedded into them from an early age. You don't question things, you just do it. You work in groups and all this. So it's a lot different to how we're taught in Australia. In Australia, you're taught to work by yourself. You know, if you don't know something, ask questions, or if you don't think something's right, ask questions. It's not like that here, you know. If you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you something, you're supposed to just accept it, you know. They don't question the doctor because, you know, they know better. Where in Australia, you know, if you go to a doctor and you're not happy with what he says, you'd go get a second opinion, or you would ask different questions. But here, it's just not done. They just sort of, they just take the people's word for it, or they'll just obey it, you know. So, and like when I was working in the school system, we had it pretty easy because we were working, and we just had to work from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That was it. But the Japanese school teachers, they would turn up at 7 o'clock in the morning to do the morning club. And then after school, they would be doing afternoon club, and then they'd have meetings, and then they have to mark their papers and make up lesson plans and whatever else they had to do. So, you know, some teachers probably wouldn't knock off work to 9, 10 o'clock sort of thing, you know. And then they have to work weekends. They'd be doing club on weekends and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, we had it very easy. We weren't in that thing. But if you do work for a Japanese company, you're just treated like a Japanese. So it's very hard to get days off. They have holidays and sick leave, but it's usually just joined into one. It's very hard to have holidays. You couldn't just say, I'm going to have a week off. Never happen. Never happen. They're never going to let you have a week off. You know, you might get a day or two off here and there, but they're never going to give you a long vacation. Like in Australia, we used to have a month off at a time. You had 20 days holidays, a month's holidays, you'd have a month off every year. And then you'd have sick leave on top of that. You'd have another 15 days sick leave or something like that. And then you could have maybe another 15 days half pay sick leave, you know. So we had it really easy compared to here in Japan. So this is why a lot of foreigners, they just can't hack working for the Japanese companies. It's just really tough. And they can't really accept it. You know, you don't ask questions, you don't question the boss and this sort of stuff. If the boss says do something, you just do it, you know. And if they change the rules, you just have to obey by the rules. So it's just the different way we've been brought up from the school systems, which is the main thing, I reckon. So anyway, that's all for today. Just my thought of the work culture in Japan and how Japanese work, and they really work hard. They're good workers. You can't fault them. So if you've got any comments, please leave them below. I'd be really interested to see what you think and what it's like working in your country, how you're treated and that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Till next time, that's all for now.